As the art form of anime evolves and the way that it is shown to us slowly changes, there are aspects of anime that will have to change along with it, and even some that will get lost to the sands of time. As new technology takes the field, old tech is left to rust in junk piles. As new people take the lead, the founders of anime are left to watch a new generation take their place. And as the things we have come to know and love start to change, we will have to come to know and love new things. As we enter a new age of content, there are pieces of anime history that have been with us since the genesis of this art form that are slowly being cast away. Not replaced by new things, but disappearing entirely. It may not be a fast death, and there may still be pieces of it that withstand the test of time, but if we do not sit down and take the time to recognize these things, they will be lost in the zeitgeist of anime, left to rot in the anime that have long since finished. However, this is not a video crying about how things are changing. This is a video about Eyecatches. Cable television sucks. Cable TV is something that evolved to fit the niche of at-home entertainment, and with it came the creation of a new form of media, the cable TV show. But it's an expensive business, so while viewers were already paying for the TV as well as the channels the shows came on, a new form of monetization came in the form of advertisements. And because we live in what can only be described as hell, TV channel execs had to come up with a way to best advertise to people. And the strategy they landed on was to put advertisements in the middle of a program's runtime. So you would get 12 minutes of a program followed by 3 to 8 minutes of ads, and the cycle repeats. But this created a problem. You see, while TV executives were only focused on making people view advertisements as much and as best as possible, anime studios were now having to deal with the ramifications that came with that advertising strategy. Having an abrupt and unskippable, at minimum, 3-minute cuts in the middle of an episode is not good if you want to create an interesting story. And it is really bad if you want to get people's attention. In an entertainment system like cable TV, where you have to catch people's attention in the middle of a live broadcast, each and every moment has to go towards gaining, retaining, and entertaining the people who could become avid fans. So in a duct tape and spit kind of solution, anime studios made sure to put the name of their show at the end of the program to let people who joined late know the name of the show that they are watching, which would leave an impression. As an anime studio that is reliant on people watching your show on live television, spending a few seconds of your allotted airtime to show off the title of your show is a pretty good deal. But it's also kind of boring. Having just the name of the show isn't that interesting. As informative as it may be, you aren't going to be catching people's attention with just the text. So people started adding interesting details to it to really get the people excited. While not the most interesting example, the One Punch Man Eyecatches do a very good job at the thing that they were named after, which is catching people's eyes. The simplistic nature of them, followed by a very pretty animation that showed off some of the events that took place in the show, creates an eye catch that really pops the second it comes on screen. But it's not really the visuals I want to talk about. Every One Punch Man eye catch is accompanied by a very loud and very noticeable guitar riff, which isn't like the most interesting thing on the planet, but brings up another interesting use case for the eye catch. Because the noise is loud and recognizable, you can communicate to a viewer clearly when it is time for ads to start and when it is time for ads to end, which is useful information for people who, say, have to do house chores. By making a very loud and distinct noise at the beginning and end of a broadcast, anime studios are letting people who need to change laundry or answer emails know that the show is about to start again. While the main draw of Eyecatches is letting people know the name of the show that they are watching, they can also be used to let people know when ads are over and they can start watching the shows again, which is a positive attribute of Eyecatches that a lot of shows use. And none of that is more apparent than in Full Metal Alchemist, where you have a guy screaming in your ear telling you what show you are about to start watching. Similar to the Eyecatches in One Punch Man, the Eyecatches in Full Metal Alchemist all pertain to the episode that they show up in, having a different character, sometimes multiple, and a pose that shows them off, as well as their name, the basics. They've become pretty iconic now, used in a lot of memes, but that's for a good reason. All you need to do is throw a gradient on the back of a PNG of your favorite character and you have what you're looking for. As an eye catch though, it does an amazing job. Having the title of the show in view, a little theme to go along with it, and of course the loud and noticeable yelling of the title to go along with it. That being said, each episode the narrator puts a little bit of a different spin on the way he says the title that better fits the episode that it shows up in. So a sad episode, the narrator has a sad tone. A hype episode, the narrator has a hype tone. An extremely subtle difference, yes, I know, but it's actually a really good way to transition both into and out of advertisements. Because of the nature of this show, namely being a really emotional with emotional highs and lows, having a catch-all eye catch that can fit all of the situations it might show up in means making a really boring eye catch. Being able to have different takes from the narrator means being able to transition into and out of ads while still having this interesting eye catch, which I think is kind of important when it comes to TV shows, because when an anime is forced to have ads in the center of its showing, quite often the switch to an emotional or hype scene from advertisements would be a bit jarring. And while I don't think anybody is going to be dropping this show because the vibes of the eye catch are a little off, but making that effort to smoothen the transition and make for a better watching experience will, of course, make people more invested in the series. Ads suck, of course, and making sure that you don't drop in viewers while ads are showing is really important to making a good, strong fan base. And while the previous few examples of eye catches are great at bringing in new viewers to the show, are really flashy and loud attention grabbers, you also have to make sure that people are willing to sit through a set of ads and not switch the channels. There are multiple ways to do this, of course, but none of them are better than how Pokemon has its Who's That Pokemon? Also, if you couldn't tell, I'm in my childhood bedroom and I don't want to disturb my family, so I'm going to be really quiet this section. When I talk about ingenious eye catches, it does not get any better than the legend of the 90s, Pokemon. Because while a lot of studios only use eye catches as a solution to a problem, Pokemon goes above and beyond in capturing the viewer's attention. If the whole idea of an eye catch is to retain, gain, and entertain viewers, then this simple yet effective design of Who's That Pokemon knocks all of those things out of the park. By ending the first part of your program on a game show style question, you are making sure children want to continue watching through the ads and on to the next part of the program so they can find the answer to said question. Kids love being right. So when you ask them a simple question about Pokemon that they should know the answer to, they will be all the more willing to wait through ads to prove that they are right to themselves, as well as the parents knitting in the background or something. And while the question part is really good, this eye catch also makes sure to tell people who are just passing by what's being played. Apart from the large Pokemon sign, you hear Ash's voice actor yell out, "Who's that Pokemon?" to transition to ads, as well as the Pokemon's name to come back from ads. There's also the fact that the song playing in the back is a shortened version of the opening song, something that is already noticeable on its own for anyone who grew up in the 2000s. And fun fact, they still use Who's That Pokemon in eye catches today, which is something I just learned and then consequently learned was a lie. So it turns out they used Who's That Pokemon up until Pokemon Journeys ended, which was the last time we saw Ash in the anime, which makes me a little sad to know it's gone. But, oh well. I was kind of planning on making a whole point about it being so good they still use it to this day, but I don't want to lie to you. We've built up so much trust with each other, you know? And it just makes me sad that it's gone. I don't even really want to transition to the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure part. Wait, hold on, how the f did I get here? The JoJo's eye catch ethos is an interesting one, because it uses the short time it has to tell you information that isn't readily available within the show itself, which means that this short few seconds of information can actually change the viewing experience of a show, as well as the conversation that surrounds it. Like the other anime in this video, each episode has a new and unique eye catch that pertains to the episode that it is featured in. It also has a unique jingle and memorable aesthetic. So while it does tick all the boxes of a good eye catch, it also manages to fuel the conversation surrounding a show by featuring the name of both the stand and stand user, as well as that stand's stats. I thoroughly enjoyed these because they would give you the names of certain stands that hadn't been named yet or at all, while also giving information about how they might be used against other stands. And unlike Pokemon, they have kept this tradition going even through the new anime. Each new episode features a new stand, even adding an interesting transition into the Eyecatch to add to the flair. As happy as I am that they decided to keep the tradition going, I can't lie. It was a little surprising to see that they did, because the show was originally released on Netflix. Over the past decade or so, Netflix has become a pivotal player in the entertainment industry, starting as video rental to streaming and now as a publisher of high-end movies and TV shows. The era of Netflix creating TV isn't new, and some amazing shows have come from this time. But it was only recently that they'd foray into the world of animation. Kitty, what are you doing out here? Oh, ho, 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 ho. You're so Portuguese. Devilman Crybaby was really the first big one, garnering a massive audience that solidified the idea that anime could be made exclusively for a streaming service. The following few years, it seemed as though Netflix was throwing things at the wall to see what stuck. Some did, and some did not. Shows like Baki the Grappler and Agretzko did amazing on their new streaming home, whereas things like Aiko Incarnation, not so much. In more recent years, they've had some real bangers in things like The Great Pretender, Brand New Animal, and Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Now, the actual list of shows that were released exclusively on Netflix is quite small. I kind of listed most of them there. The Netflix original anime you might hear about in advertising isn't all that original, but is instead Netflix just gaining the license to simulcast a show or streaming rights. JoJo's is one of those shows, along with Violet Evergarden, Delicious in Dungeon, Komi Can't Communicate, My Happy Marriage, and a few others. That being said, the true Netflix originals, what are you doing? You want up? Alright, buddy. Okay, well, that's my script. That being said, the true Netflix originals, things like The Great Pretender, Brand New Animal, and Devilman Crybaby, all have something in common. A lack of something, might I add. Because while these shows are still anime, and great ones at that, they were made to be shown on Netflix. Eyecatches were born from a problem that only cable television had. Because of how cable TV ran its ads meant that there was a need for something to catch the passerby's attention. Netflix and streaming services do not have that problem, so the need for eyecatches as we know them are not necessary. And if a show does have them, you don't need to show them on a streaming service. The people who are watching shows in the streaming age are usually being very deliberate in the shows they are watching. When put in front of a catalog of shows, the average viewer will pick and choose the shows they want to watch. The method to catch people's eyes has changed. You no longer need to catch someone's eyes as they are watching something live. You need to catch someone's eyes in your title or your cover, because that is the thing that people are going to notice when they click on a streaming site. Which is also why you are seeing these increasingly long show titles. It's because that is how the shows are advertising their interesting features, and that is what people are looking at when they open a streaming service. Now, to say that eyecatches are dying because of this would be technically wrong, and I don't want to attribute their eventual death to streaming services, but because of places like Netflix, the need for these things are slowly disappearing. Anime will continue to be shown on cable television all around the world. Eyecatches will continue to be used to gain, retain, and entertain the people who are watching them. But in a hypothetical yet very probable future where anime companies start only using streaming services, eyecatches will be one of the first things to go. But it's not alone. Any part of anime that can be attributed to cable television will go with it. So things like the 24-minute runtime or pacing around a minute long or a 3-minute long break in the middle of the episode, with the slow disappearance of cable TV, these things will be lost. But is that a bad thing? Remember, eyecatches were a solution to a problem, not something that anime studios wanted to do. Some anime studios did the best with what they had and created some really interesting and useful eyecatches, but at the end of the day, they were just an attempt to keep us engaged through the ads we were forced to see. So while, yes, the art form of the eyecatch is slowly disappearing, in its place comes the opportunity for change and the chance to create something even better. My name is Laszlo. And before I end the video, I just want to take a moment to say that I have a Ko-Fi now. Ko-Fi? Ko-Fi. If you are watching this channel right now and want to support me in any way, other than just watching this channel, which you are already doing a massive thing for me, you can go over to Ko-Fi and help me out. I love making this content. You know, getting a few $5 to get a new mic or get lighting is definitely going to push me to make more and better and more interesting content. But in the meantime, and until next time, thank you for watching. See ya.